everybody. I'm tuning in from my car, sadly. Not sadly, but uh, I'm waiting for Alondra, who's about to join me. She's about to drop some nuggets. Alondra. Boom. She's joining. And everyone's zoomed in. Oh, she's here. Forgot to join. She's unable to join. We will make it happen. Boom.
Hi, how are you?
What's going on?
Here, it's a loud hour today, so you might hear a little husky in the background, but it's okay.
Happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
So I always like to start off Instagram Live with some super fun questions.
Awesome.
You're totally open for fun questions that everyone wants to hear, right?
Yes. I think everyone's excited for them.
So first questions are 3 biggest inflection points you had in your life growing up to bring you to this day, right this second.
Okay, so 3 events or reflections?
Inflection points. So
okay.
Thinking of in a life like a graph, all of a sudden you're treading along like a regular sloped graph, and now all of a sudden, boom, life started to change for you drastically. That might have been like when you were growing up, you fell in the pool, or when you were in high school, you switched classes and had to saw some teacher, or you discovered real estate and you're like, I've got to jump on this bandwagon. Tell me about your life.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest changes, was my senior year of college. So I actually broke my leg. And so I was at Michigan and I was studying to do international communications, and I really wanted to travel. That was my goal. But then, life hit and I broke my foot. And so I knew exactly what I wanted to do at that point. But then when that tragic happened, I played sports my whole life, and then I just happened to slip and fall pretty badly twice. And so I had a lot of time. That was the first time I couldn't really get up and go anywhere. So I had a lot of time to read on what I wanted to do. And I actually read a book on flipping houses for dummies. And I just was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly not what I wanted to do, but exactly the first step of, a long-term, successful career or something, that I really decided to go into. And I did more research, and I'm just like, I could be a travel blogger, I could do this, I could do that, but one of my biggest things was just like, this is incredible. This is another way where I could build wealth with, just knowing with what I know, and then, cutting the middleman out, getting my real estate license, doing more research. But that was a big point for me, and it was very hard because my spirit, like I was so drained and, kind of like really upset, like, no, I'm supposed to be, walking everywhere and traveling, and now I'm just like stuck. So I think that was like a big moment for me. And so honestly, I do not, regret it. It was a really hard time for me. But it was during COVID. So it was even worse because now after I healed, I graduated, and then COVID hit. So I was, not only did I just couldn't walk for 8 months, but now I'm just isolated for a whole year and a half. And I'm like, I'm such an extrovert, and to be isolated, I'm just like, what is going on? So I think that was pretty like amazing. It was like a blessing in disguise, because I am where I am now. And I think that was a big one. One of the things too, I think it's funny how you mentioned falling into a pool and drowning. So that's how I learned how to swim. when I was the age of 7 in California, my cousins were all just running into a pool, and I didn't know it was that deep. And so I really saw my life flash before my eyes. And I was just, I don't know how I did it, but I came up, got a fresh breath. So it was definitely changing, and I felt like you could do anything.
What were you when that happened?
Oh, I was about 7.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, you're a little low on the audio, so I gotta like zoom into here.
Oh, really? Let me fix that. Interesting. So, well, that would you consider that an inflection point, almost drowning and learning how to swim?
Definitely, I think I would consider that. I think that really like helps you reflect on, just life in general and how to take it in and really understand, like, understanding yourself and overcoming. It's like a turning point where you're almost afraid. I would say your flesh is just fearful, but your mind and everything else is just kind of overcoming. And I think it's definitely a growth in you where as a kid you want to try all new things, and it can get very scary. And I feel like a lot of depending on your environment and your parenting and everything, kids tend to feel very secure and comfortable. So when you have an experience like that, you're just like, whoa, it makes you really reflect on, your ability of what you can do physically and mentally.
So do you think you kept taking more risks after that, or you were more reserved because of that?
I was very risky. I convinced my parents to sign me up for like modeling and acting when I was 12. I'm like, I'm gonna go to New York and do all these things. So I did a lot of just like not plays, but pretty screen. I can't remember what to call it, but like screen playing and pretty much just fashion shows and hair shows. But honestly, it was just something that I felt like I could do, and it was very cool at the time. But my parents financially, they're just like, she's so her passion for it, like it's just like she already sees the future and what's going to happen. And so my dad's like, I have to let her try. And so same thing with soccer. I played soccer growing up, but financially I couldn't play for a travel team. And so I ended up playing with a guys team. It was inexpensive, but in Chicago there's a lot of leagues, and they're usually co-ed, and they let girls play. And so I learned how to play with the boys, and I was blessed that I was recruited into a travel during high school, and that really changed, my game and allowed me to really proceed more into the college level, which was, amazing. I never thought I could make it, but it definitely taking that risk and showing your passion. There's always a way, to really exceed, even if you can.
Yeah, it's almost like sometimes when we don't have as many resources and we have to use the resources we have to elevate our game, like not being able to play on a girls travel team lets you go play with the guys, which honestly is probably more competitive than the girls. And you did it at a younger age, and then you were a better player later, correct?
Yes. Oh, yes. I learned a lot.
So that's inflection point number 2. What's the third most important inflection point in your life?
Oh, okay. I would say I think it came a little earlier, and it would be just recently, probably about a year ago, and it was after COVID. I really felt that I think I had a moment where, everyone's talking about, mental health. And, I think that was a big thing that growing up, I never really experienced like anxiety. I always thought it was just being nervous or having butterflies. When you're younger, these emotions tend to feel different. you know, you're like, oh, I'm getting excited for a game or I'm getting a little nervous. But when you're older and you're going through like a life crisis, or, you know, you have finances, you have this, you have careers, you have school. I mean, these emotions tend to feel much more different and intense. And so I always kind of laughed at that subject, like, oh, it's all in your head, you know, you just got to get out there. And I was
Mhm.
very tough, like, no, like, just go work out or go do this. But understanding that these people are actually feeling these ways, and then you actually encounter these emotions, they tend to really hit you. And I think COVID was a big one that got me, and I did experience some depression and anxiety, and I really had to overcome that, because if I wanted to exceed in my business and connect with people again, it was just something that I felt like it was very troubling for me getting out of that. And so I felt like my spirit was very weak. And so that was one of the things. I always have like a long-term and short-term goal list that I always check off.
Mhm.
And I think my health and my spirit was definitely something that was just the last thing on the list. You know, like I got licensed, I graduated college, I did this, I did all these extra things, but with myself and my health, it just wasn't there. And so I took the last year to really focus on that, and I lost 30 pounds, which I'm like so
Oh,
happy.
that's what's up.
Because yeah,
Good to see
I
you.
just took so long being athletic your whole life, and then just boom, not being able to, you know, physically work
Mhm.
out and really putting your mind into it. That was awesome for me to just see that in myself, to be able to really overcome. And then, you know, spiritually, just, you know, meditating more, prayer. And I honestly, I feel amazing. It's definitely one of those points that I would say it's an event of emotional and stress that really, you know, you never really experience. And so I think that was, I don't know if that counts as a moment, but that for me was big to just make a change.
Well, yeah, that sounds like it, right? You got put into a situation, and all of us got put into a situation that we weren't familiar with, and we probably experienced new emotions that we weren't familiar with, right? Isolation, loneliness, something I've always struggled with as a young bachelor, you know, looking for his wife. Is, you know, it's so difficult, at least for me, to work all day, and then all of a sudden you get done, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, now what, right? And I think until you have, you know, different practices in place, or have a baseline in place, you know, that's the word I always use, like, what's my baseline for my morning or my evening? And then I know when I'm not doing those things that I'm off track. So you mentioned meditation, mentioned prayer. Like, what does meditation look like for you? When did you start it? Have you noticed that you've gotten better at it over time? And would there be any like tips or tricks you would tell people about to figure out meditation? Because it's something that, you know, for me, I consider, right? You go in to play soccer, that's physical exercise. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you know, us in the business world, there's nothing more powerful than our mind, and we got to exercise the mental
Oh,
exercise.
oh yeah. Definitely. So it definitely took a while, but I think, you know, when you first open your eyes, I feel like people tend to turn to their phones a lot. And I definitely stopped that, because, you know, I know you want to get to that email or just know what's going on. But I really just sit in silence for a good, you know, 10-15 minutes, and, you know, just kind of think about
Oh,
what my day, you know, how my day is going to go. Oh no, it's dark. And, really it's just kind of like knowing what my process will feel like, calming myself and preparing myself mentally. And, you know, but typically, I guess when I'm just laying there, I do tend to pray. And it's just something I just really started doing. Um, is just sitting there and giving myself 15 minutes to prepare myself for the day, and going into prayer, and just waking up, and also motivating myself, almost like affirmation, like, you got to get up. Today's, you know, it's another day, and we got goals to hit. And so really just self-motivating myself in that, in the beginning, and then physically getting up and actually meditating during workout, and just, you know, in between, I guess, workouts, and just really reflecting on calming your mind, and just kind of, it's really hard to feel like you just stay in silence, because I feel like we're always moving. If we're not doing something, we're going to our phones, and we're just scrolling, 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 and then you're just like, where did the time go? And I think that's super important to just like put everything away and really just, you know, focus on yourself in that moment. It definitely is something, it's a work in progress, but I feel like that if you're better, everyone else and your clients will have the best of you. And that's how I feel. I have to remind myself, like, all right, if it's an emergency, I'm going to get up and, answer it. But of course, I want to put my physical and mental in the morning, like get my early workout. Because I feel like when I work out in the morning, I feel strong throughout the whole day. And I just feel so
Facts.
good. Your day starts and then you're ready to, get to work. So that's kind of how I start the morning meditation.
So that's the thing. Every morning meditation, and you mentioned prayer. What does prayer look like? Prayer is something like could be a hard thing to do. Like if I don't know how to pray, what do you tell me are my first steps to figure out how to pray?
Okay, I laugh at this because I have a lot of friends who've asked me. They know they're like, oh, she's busy, she's studying. I'm taking a theology course, and I think I don't really talk a lot about it, but it's been about 8 months, and I feel really amazing. But I think they've asked me like, so what do you do, or how do you feel the way, how do you start praying? And I honestly, it's pretty much just, I would consider myself, I know it's a little personal, but just, praying for what I want, what I look for. If if someone's going through a hard time, I definitely pray on that as well, but mainly for the people, my friends and family. I pray for them every day because I know they're always going through something, but mainly just on what my goals are, giving me just the strength. And I guess it's just like affirmation. I know a lot of people do that a lot, but I feel like prayer is very simple. It's just really connecting with yourself. And of course, I believe in God and Jesus Christ, of course. And so I really pray to them as well. So I'm going to be very open about that. And so, that's just kind of, it's like a really deeper relationship within myself and God for sure.
Yeah, I'm loving that. Yeah, I think prayer can be super simple, right? It's the time that you're just talking to God, the universe, the power, whatever you want to believe in. To each their own. I'm not putting my beliefs on anyone else. I keep it usually super, super simple, and I start with gratitudes. I I'd go with thank you. I go with I need help, and I go I'm sorry. Those three things
Oh,
went through it at church. Thank you. I need help. And I'm sorry. Boom, you cover those three things. For me, prayer can be just that simple. And it's, the more often I've prayed, the easier it's gotten too, and the easier it is to have the mental time to yourself when you're not getting distracted, and I think our world has become a world of distraction, right? Any advertising, any marketing is geared to distract us. And so it's us as the user, it's our job to figure out how to become undistracted. And I think prayer, meditation, these are the things to exercise your mind, to become more aware of what you're thinking about, because it's the job of the marketing to get you to not be thinking, to be thinking about what they want you to think about, not what you want to be thinking about. So yeah, I'm all about the prayer too, and
do
coming up with a
do you pray every morning, or what are your routines?
oh yeah
I
oh so I pray in the morning. I pray in the morning in the shower on my knees.
know. Okay.
Boom. Yeah, on my knees praying. And so yeah, my morning routine very straightforward. It starts very simply. I get up, I get water immediately. Then after water, I make my bed. After I make my bed, I stretch. After I stretch, I read the Bible. After I read the Bible, I go for a run. I'll do some core work. I'll read again, take a cold shower. Boom, first meeting. Then I have my smoothie, and then our first meeting is at 7 o'clock. And so, like I said, that's a very key for me to know what my baseline is. And the reason most people can't get on track is because they don't know what the fuck on track looks like. That's just a fact,
Yeah.
and they don't have it written down to say, here is what my baseline of my morning looks like. And when I do this, I know I'm having the best day possible. And so I always tell everyone wants to talk about their morning routine, but how do you set yourself up properly for the best morning routine, in my opinion, is to make sure you have an evening routine, And so my evening routine is even more super simple. It's just stretch, 3 wins, and pray. So reflect on my day, figure out, obviously loosen up the body, right? When your body moves, your brain grooves. And so I write down some 3 wins, and then I say a quick prayer. Same thing with prayer. Keep it super simple. Thank you. I need help, and I'm sorry. So that's my day.
No, that is awesome. What time do you go to sleep?
So yeah, I go to sleep about 9:30.
Okay.
Between 9:30 and 10. Get up at 4:20, 4:30.
Okay. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah, 4. If your first meeting's at 7, I'm working on that. I definitely think that, like, I'm looking at my time in the day, and I'm like, okay, maybe if I just, get up an hour earlier, what you can accomplish. It's just kind of, nice and starting off your day. So I think that's definitely something in the back of my head that I'm like, okay, I just need to, because, everything you do, I feel like a month or so becomes a habit. And so I
of course.
people, it's starting a new thing. It can feel scary, going into a new career, getting a license, making an investment. I mean, it's just, once you break that chain and you're consistent, for a month or with whatever you're doing, it just almost becomes a habit. And so you just find yourself doing it, and it's almost like second nature. So I definitely think that's, the strategy.
Yeah. It all comes back to awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything in our life is a habit. But if we can't take the time to think about what we're thinking about, all of a sudden getting done with work and watching TV is a habit that we have every day.
Mm-hmm.
We get up every morning and we open up our phone to see what's on Instagram, but you've got to be in control of your mind first. This is the most important thing we have in all of the entire world, because if we're not in control of this, someone else is. And if someone else is, they're probably making some money doing some advertising on you. So yeah, I think prayer and meditation are the easiest way to exercise your mind, easiest way to get in control of awareness. And I personally believe that having awareness is the key to your life. And it took me a long time to practice, but anything I could figure out to become more aware of something I would normally do unconsciously, I started to do it consciously. So a good example would be, I know if I would go to drink my water with my right hand, like you are, I would start drinking it with my left hand. When I go to brush my teeth, instead of using my right hand, I'd use my left hand. When I go to unlock the door, I'd use my left hand instead of my right hand. Because all of a sudden now you're becoming aware of something that you were not aware of because you were doing it subconsciously.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
So do you go open the door with your right hand or left hand?
So I don't practice doing it as much anymore because I'm pretty cognizant of probably 95% of my thoughts and what I'm thinking and what I'm saying, because I know the implication all of those have. But when you're trying to transition from, it's like a state of enlightenment once you're actually fully aware of all your thoughts, and it's a blessing and a curse, because you go to have a drink. For me, someone who's had problems with addiction and drinking, it's like, well, I have to ask myself, like, well, why am I having this drink?
Mm-hmm.
Am I having this drink because I'm around a bunch of other people who are drinking, and so I feel socially imposed to drink? Am I having this drink because I'm lonely and I'm by myself? Am I having this drink just because I like the taste? Like, it's a nice taste, which is, I don't know that many people that really love the taste of alcohol, but it's all these things that come into your mind now, and then you have to slowly kind of work through these things, and all these things kind of, are developed over time, right? I believe that we are who we are now is based on our past, right? Obviously. And every memory we had adds up to memories that we've had, and then slowly we just become who our memories are until we decide that we're going to be someone different in the future.
Yeah.
Because
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise we'll just keep doing the same things over and over and over again. And if you don't track it, we can't change it. So I'm tracking everything. Do you have any habits or things that you're tracking on a regular basis?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Well, I mean, of course, my daily, I guess my goals is something I always have like posted right in front of me. But I guess something daily during my health journey, I was tracking my meal, like what I was eating. And it was really, it was not easy. In the beginning, I just kept falling off. And then I kept telling myself, well, I wasn't really happy and satisfied with where I was in my fitness journey. And I really, hold myself accountable. And I found ways to just, I'll put it on top of my laptop or something, and it had to be with me everywhere. Then I started to set timers. And so I think holding, like you said, being aware and holding yourself accountable, and then understanding why you are where you are. And then when you make that change and you start to really see, okay, what's my diet? What am I doing? I think that really allowed me to help me understand how I was eating and what I was eating, and even eating out. And so I know I hit a point a couple of years ago where, I remember just going to restaurants all the time, and I really sat down and reflected on how much, I was going out and spending in these places, and I was just like in shock. And it's really putting yourself like, this is what you're spending. It's like a car payment, or, like something else, and it's just really being aware and not being afraid. I think one of the things I would really say is don't be afraid to what you are coming to know of yourself, because once you it's okay. Like, you could say, okay, I'm eating out this much, like, whoa. And then you start looking into the meals and what that nutrition is doing to you, and you're just like, you start to get scared, and people just like, oh, I don't want to look at that, who cares, I don't want to look at the nutrition, I don't want to look at what's going into my own body. And it's like, that's you. So I think getting out of that and breaking out of that, it's like, it's the reality. And so understanding the reality and really just not being afraid is the biggest thing. Fear, I think that's where a lot of people struggle with, is the fear of themselves and the reality of themselves. So
that's good. Bingo. Everyone struggles with the fear of being themselves. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a quote right there. But that's a fact, because until we really deal with ourselves, deals with our past, we can't become someone different. And it's like looking at your bank account, right? It's scary. And then you look at it and you're like, wow, that actually feels better to know, but it's easier to ignore it. I think that's the difference. It's like we've become built into a society of taking an easy way thing. And one of my favorite quotes is, we've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it's uncomfortable looking at our tracking our weight, or tracking our calories, or tracking our spending. But if it's something we want to change and make a commitment to, we have to track it, or it's not going to change. That's what I believe about anything and everything. So I have all my habits, boom, 15 of them laid out every day, tracked. And it changed my life. Boom. Because I just know if I do these things, I'm living at the highest quality life I can live. And I'm no longer looking outside for that external validation, because I've got my internal validation with myself and my God. And I believe my order of priorities falls like this: God, self, spouse, kids, family, friends. And because if we don't have the best relationship with, a higher power, God, Jesus, whatever we might believe, what's everyone's number one biggest fear, in your opinion?
I feel like people's biggest fear is just, death.
Death.
I guess.
Yes, you got it. Wow, that's amazing. Yes, everyone's biggest fear is death. Why? Because we don't know what happens to it. And so when we can continue to embrace uncertainty in our lives and make changes and lean into the discomfort, that's when we ultimately become free. So I love to hear you facing your fears, making changes, and making things happen. You got a monster future coming your way. I can feel it. What's one change while we end? What's one change you want to make going forward after our discussion? What are you going to commit to tracking to?
Ooh, tracking to. Are you talking like daily or long term?
I don't know. Whatever you think is going to have the biggest impact on your life right now. That's like, hey, there's been this one thing going on, and you know what? I want to make an adjustment to it, and I'm going to tell everyone on the Instagram Live what that change is going to be.
What the change is going to be. Okay. This is a good one because I definitely
take your time. It could be personal. It could be business. It could be, you might bite your nails like I used to, or, scratch, whatever it might be. But I would challenge it to be like, what's something that's been on my mind that I know I want to switch up that is going to have a big impact on my life moving forward?
Okay, that's a good one. I think a big one that I'm thinking of right now is moving forward. I think what I want to change is really, there's a couple of there's like two things, but I think my spirit, like not giving up on my spiritual journey, even like when I'm done, with my course, I think that is what I'm going to carry that on forever. And I want to be able to help others, really, who are seeking that comfort or whatever they are looking for. It's just, to guide them, because I was kind of guided, and I am so blessed for it, because I was lost. I didn't really know where to turn or what to do. And I think a lot of people are in that situation, and they don't know anyone. So I think really just continuing that and really helping others, understand kind of like where they want to be spiritually and mentally. And and another thing I think that I really want to with my business is really, not having the fear of unfolding the failure that I think I'm already like thinking ahead of time. And I think we'll have another conversation, because I'm going to be working soon on a big project coming in the next year. And I'm super, super nervous, but I love watching your feeds, because it really motivates me to unleash the truth of what you see behind all these walls, having a home that is livable for others as well, quality, I think is super important, because I know I always grew up, my parents were investors, and, it was always like, who do we know that, is on the side who get the job done, and the, definitely the quantity, they were choosing quantity over quality, but I really want to change that trend, because I've seen it so many times in like businesses and cars and homes, and I think really going for that quality, not being afraid of what to unfold, and really learning. I think that's my biggest goal, because once you know what your plans to really understand where you want to do with the building, it's just super important. And I think it makes a huge difference for sure, your quality.
Ooh, yeah. Well, it's on our name, Quality Builder. So I'm super excited for your project coming up. And yeah, my life's mission is finding the truth. So I'm a truth hunter. So I'm looking for the truth behind the walls at Quality Builders. And I can't wait to tackle your project. And so hopefully we're talking in the next couple months to knock it out.
It will be a while, because I'm still working. So it's in the process, but I just started. It's just in the process, and so, but a lot of it comes, it's. I can't wait to tell you about it.
Okay, beautiful. All right, I gotta run, but we're gonna connect again soon.